Hi and welcome to Northampton's Wargamers on the Road. My name's Barry and we're at Wargames Workshop in Northampton, England for a top 8 match in the first UK circuit event. This match is between Mikee Bone on the left playing Skarbrand and George Roger on the right playing Avensis. Mikee Bone was the King of Swiss with George Roger in 8th. You're in for a real treat with this match as this is the fastest pitch battle I've ever seen. 22 players took part in this tournament, making it the biggest event for champions outside of Warhammer World. At the end of 5 rounds of Swiss, there was a cut to top 8. Faction breakdown for top 8 is 5 Chaos, all with Skarbrand, and 3 Order, 2 of which consisted of Elfless and 1 Vorus. Mike's elected to go first, or the companion app has told him he's going first. So here we go. We have an Avensis, we have a Lokian Prince, we have a Lotan, and then the second Lokian Prince. And for Skarbrand, we have Bloodmaster Herald of Khorne, Skarbrand himself, and 2 Blood Reaver Chieftains. So Mikee passes and draws 2. Avensis does his heroic act, searches for a spell, puts it into play. So we've got Flesh to Stone. So because it's a Duran card, he won't ever complete his blessing because he needs to lay a fire spell. So we've got a Razor Shell Leviathan going into play, completing the first quest on Lotan. So that's going to do a lot of damage next turn. So Blood Hunt goes in, takes out that Flesh to Stone. Mikee doesn't want to give Roger any extra cards. So there we go, rotate. Razor Shell's heroic axe, so he's going to discard an elf card from his hand and deal corner damage. So he's going to get rid of a Namati Soul Feeder. Normally it's 6 damage, but it goes to 7 because it's Lotan. And then he follows up with the Jaws of Death, doing another 5. So Mikee places Blood Fury Wrathmonger in there, doing 2 damage to George and then 1 to himself. And then he Blood Hunts and gets rid of that Razor Shell, so it can't cause him any more pain. So George answers with another Flesh of Stone, draws a card, and then plays a Razor Shell Harpoon Alapex onto Lotan and making the Blood Fury Wrathmonger dormant. I quite like taking tokens so you can so it's a visual notification. So 2 damage from the Razor Shell and an extra card from Flesh to Stone. And I can catch my breath. So Swift Mighty Reaver goes into play, 2 damage because of the Lotan buff. So 1 damage from the Blood Reaver Chieftain, completing the quest. Mikee draws a card, everything spins. 3 damage from the Razor Shell, 2 damage from the Swift Namati Reaver, and 1 card. So Skarbrand's coming up to 10, which is the danger zone for his amplification of damage. So Sweeping Namati Thrall goes in, does 2 damage. That spins the Swift Namati Reaver, doing another 3 damage, all with Lotan buffs. Jaws of Death does 5 damage. So Mike's taken 6, so he just needs to go and reset that. Puts it back to 2. Thank you, Owen. So I don't think even Skarbrand can do 27 damage in 1 round. So some of you may have heard of Mikee Bone before, and he's on the Sackcast. He's a regular on the podcast with Hamish, and I'll add the link to that in the show notes below. So Mike's just looking at options. George has got a lot of things rotating out of play. He'll only be left with the Sweeping Namati Thrall. So Reckless Abandon. So he's going to do 4 damage and then get rid of that Razor Shell. So 1 damage from the Sweeping Namati Thrall. So he's just got to do 1 more damage. So Hellsaber Island Guard reveals a blessing. Swift Judgment. And it was Swift Judgment indeed. Well done, George. 1 game to order. So the guys in pitch battle rules, they get to side deck. You get 3 minutes, and both players have side decked. And here we go. So Bloodmaster Herald of Khorne, a Lokian Prince, followed up by another Lokian Prince, a Blood Reaver Chieftain, Skarbrand himself, Volturnus, and Lotan, and then another Blood Reaver Chieftain. So George has really mixed it up a bit, because more than likely Skarbrand player would have added in Scorn of Sorcery for extra damage. So the good thing is with pitch battle you get to take 5 champions, so you can change your lineup and change your deck with the sideboard. So we got Fanatical Skullfiend going into play, deals 1 damage to Mikee. So we've got a Sweeping the Marty Thrall going in for 1 damage. Does the quest on Loki and Prince. Follows up with a beat back. So he's going to move the Skull Fiend over to the Bloodmaster to stop him from doing any more questing abilities. Hellsaber Ishlingard goes in and Lotan does his first quest. 3 damage from the Skull Fiend. So 1 damage from the Transmogrifying Flamer. So 3 damage from the Sweeping the Mighty Throw. He gets a buff from Lotan. He also does extra damage if he's against a champion that costs 2 or less. And he draws a card. Draws 2 cards. So Mikey's goes. He's going to do 1 damage to himself from the Skull Fiend and 1 damage from the Transmogrifying Flamer to George. So we've got a beat back being used in. Second quest for Skarbrand. It's going to move that Namati Thrall away so he doesn't get the Lotan buff and doesn't do extra damage because he's no longer against a champion of 2 or less. Scorn of Sorcery. So 4 damage from Outrageous Carnage. Gets rid of that Sweeping the Mighty Thrall. And then does 2 damage because of the Scorn of Sorcery. So we've got 2 damage from the Ishland's Guard and gets rid of that Skull Fiend who deals 2 damage in return for the Last Stand ability. Razor Shell Harpoon Alapex goes into play, making that Flamer dormant. And no, it doesn't do any damage, but it does the first quest for Volturnus. So he's just checking amount of cards in hand. So we've got another Sweeping the Mighty Thrall going in. 3 damage. We get Divine Blast for 6. Heals 2. There we go. So nice 9 damage to Skarbrand that time. So the Transmogrifying Flamer is dormant. Mikey decides to draw 2. Everything spins for George. 1 damage from the Harpoon, 2 damage, 3 damage from the Ishland Guard, and 3 damage from the Sweeping the Mighty Thrall, and George draws 2 cards. So we've got Insatiable Blood Reaver goes into play, gets rid of that Transmogrifying Flamer as it goes in. Mikey draws a card, everything spins. 2 damage from the Razor Shells, and 2 damage from the Sweeping the Marty. So Jaws of Death to finish it off, 5 damage. And that's it, Skarbrand is dispatched. Now, you weren't expecting that, were you? Well done, George. Avensis 2, spot on. Okay, so we've got the semis coming up. We're going to see George again in the semis. So stay tuned, like, subscribe, comment below, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.